All right. I'm excited. I was looking in the little virtual green room. JG was kind of headbanging. All right, so we're about to go. We're about to go. Let's go. That song, if you're wondering, it's called Black Yacht Rock. Thought the title was funny, but it has nothing to do with Black's yacht rocking. Hello and welcome to Dudes in the Cheap Seats, the show. This show is a bit of a departure from the usual types of shows we do here on TIR, even for the Pop Life universe. On this particular program, JG Michael, host of Parallax Views, and I take deep dives, fun dives, into the more obscure and raunchier side of cinema. If you're a returning listener or subscriber or one of our very valued patrons, so glad to have you back. If you are a new listener or subscriber, thank you for taking the time to check this out. If you do dig what we're doing, make sure you hit like. It looks like some of the shows are getting a little, what do they call it? Shadow banned once again. So liking and sharing go a long way in making sure we can continue to do this. For fans of the main show, I will be back tomorrow where I'll be speaking with journalist Will Potter, and we'll be discussing the increased surveillance state that now functions with law enforcement like ICE. We'll be going live at our regularly scheduled time at 6 p.m. Pacific. Also, after the main show tonight, for patrons and paid YouTube subscribers, we're going to be screening the film that we're discussing, Relentless. So again, if you want to join us after the show, hell, even if you're listening to the audio version of this and want to watch the replay with all of the pre and post movie conversations, well, become a patron. You'll get access to the champagne room and you'll be able to join us for movie nights like tonight, watch parties, and champagne rooms. And if you can't make it live, you can always watch it on replay. Right? Actor Judd Nelson was part of a group of young actors who were pejoratively labeled the Brat Pack of Hollywood. While the article and the moniker were meant as a jab, the name became their nom de plume. And for many Gen Xers, any movie starring a member of this youthful Hollywood clique was a must-see. The John Hughes-style teen film was a money-making venture in the mid-'80s, and these young actors were box office draws. But you can only play teenagers for so long, or lost 20-somethings trying to find their way in a changing world. By 1989, Judd Nelson would largely discard his Brat Pack image with his role as Arthur Buck Taylor, a deranged serial killer. Relentless, while very much a film made in 1989, begins with a premise that might seem like fantasy to some. A deranged killer is denied entry into the Los Angeles Police Department because he's so mentally unstable. This is the same LAPD that in 1989 was ramping up its Operation Hammer Sweeps, terrorizing black and brown and ultimately poor and working class Los Angeles neighborhoods in the name of the war on drugs and crime prevention. You'd think that someone who had no moral conflict with the use of physical violence and who came from a law enforcement pedigree would walk right into the force, but sometimes it's not that simple. In Twin Falls, Idaho, 24-year-old Chad Williams was denied employment with ICE because he didn't meet the requirements. Nelson's Buck Taylor is similar in that regard, a man with a fondness for the rule of law, isolated from society and traumatized by years of abuse at the hands of his super cop father, goes on a days-long rampage, murderous spree that terrorizes the greater Los Angeles area, all in the name of outsmarting the police. What's also strange about Relentless is that if Nelson's Buck Taylor is the son of such a decorated and well-known police officer, why does no one really know him? They know his father and his reputation as a violent cop, and as we learn in the film, he was so violent that liberals had him removed from the force. We'll probably get into it when we talk about the movie, but there's this kind of interesting theme that runs through a lot of these. JG calls them like boomer justice fantasies, boomer revenge fantasies. I call them tough on crime movies. I don't think they're. It's easy to see them as being entrenched in a fantasy of old people beating up young people that just aren't obeying the law. But I think it's a little deeper than that. I do think it's just all propaganda. 86, there's a new big law when it comes to like drug crime. We're going to do the 100-to-1 powder to crack cocaine. That happens. So The idea that there is a person in the world that thinks that maybe putting someone under the jail for having a couple of rocks of crack on them might be a bit extreme. So the liberal is always played as someone who A, doesn't live in the community, B, is usually a woman, and C, is just extremely disconnected from the realities of the streets. Anyway, Relentless is an exciting thriller come horror flick that really sets the tone for the transformation of horror into something increasingly grounded in real life and urban settings. Summer camp serial killers are replaced by atomized loners with death wishes. Final girls are replaced by dogged detectives willing to go all the way to catch a murderer. Before Kiss the Girls, Seven, and The Silence of the Lambs, there was Relentless. To have this conversation with me, please welcome the host of Parallax Views and my partner in these crazy movie endeavors, J.G. Michael.
Well,
JG, you wanted to do this movie. We were talking about what movie we were going to do. You were like, I said Relentless. I said Relentless like 3 weeks ago. How dare you forget, Jason? And I had saw this movie. I'm so old. I remember watching this movie as a preteen one night on cable. I couldn't tell you the exact channel if it was because we only had, for a while, we had HBO and Cinemax only. And I couldn't tell you which one it was, probably Cinemax. But I remember wanting to see it because I liked, when I was younger, I watched as an adult, couldn't stand it, Breakfast Club. And any movie with the Brat Packer in it, I was like, oh, this should be interesting. And seeing Judd Nelson play a serial killer was such a departure. And I had no idea that this movie was kind of getting me ready for a transition in the straight to video horror genre.
yeah, it's an interesting transitional film in a lot of ways because I think it's representative of the later 80s and where a lot of directors that maybe started in horror and exploitation were going at the time. I mean, this is directed by the great William Lustig, known in another lifetime as Billy Bagg, who he has a whole backstory we can get into that's very interesting. But Bill Lustig started out in adult films, directing adult films. That he went to NYU for a year, dropped out of the film school there after a year. And before that, he was a high school dropout. So I don't know how he got into film school, but I guess he showed his capabilities. He had worked on, ushering jobs and just various like jobs in film and movie theaters. Eventually ends up NYU, drops out of NYU, starts making adult films. The Violation of Claudia and Hot Honey, which just got they just got, it's funny because they just got re-released by Vinegar Syndrome, and the best thing about those releases is the audio commentaries with Lustig and Nicholas Winding Refn. Yes, the guy that did Drive. And you will learn more about film and how to film things listening to those two commentaries, believe it or not, than you will probably learn going to film school. But Bill Lustig's a very interesting character. He starts in adult films, like I said, and then he moves on to horror films, specifically with the movie Maniac, starring Joe Spinell, which was very, very
Maniac, not Maniac Cop.
He did Maniac Cop as well.
I didn't know he did Maniac. I thought someone else did that for some reason.
Yeah. So Maniac is interesting because it gives a little bit of insight into how Lustig operated. For instance, there's a scene in Maniac where they famously have Joe Spinell shoot Tom Savini in the head with a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed that without any type of permit. So,
really?
Yeah, Bill Lustig filmed in a very guerrilla style. When he was making Maniac, he actually went around saying that him and the crew were students and it was so that he could get around the unions at the time. And he was able to convince them that because it was shot on 16 millimeter, not 35.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a dude that knew how to break the rules, but he also knew how to get things done. And he's a very interesting character in, I would say, 80s film history, because he's someone that learned how to make films on the go.
Mm-hmm.
It's also interesting. I don't know how much you want me to get into it, but I don't know if it was his uncle or a family friend. Peter Savage is the guy that got him into film. Peter Savage was the co-writer of the Jake LaMotta biopic Raging Bull, and the book it was based on. Peter Savage is a mob guy, and it's interesting because Jake LaMotta gets to know Peter Savage after, I guess, a bar fight where some mob guy was trying to kill Peter, and then LaMotta saves him, and they become close friends from there. And then that leads to Lustig, who is friends with LaMotta. LaMotta is his uncle, so Peter Savage is a family friend. Savage gets him into the film industry. So this mob guy helps Lustig get into the film industry, break into the adult film industry, and then Lustig starts making exploitation films. He makes Maniac, and then he makes Vigilante with Robert Forster and William Lustig. And I believe that comes out in 1982. He disappears for a number of years. And then he does Maniac Cop, Hit List, and then this one, Relentless. And it's a very stark departure from both his adult films and the sort of gritty New York, extremely violent horror movies, such as Maniac, or even the more Death Wish style Vigilante from, I believe, 1982. So this is interesting because it falls in the same category as some of his other films. It deals with a psycho killer, just like Maniac and Maniac Cop. But this one is moving away from being just a straight horror movie that tries to rely on the gore to get you going. Sorry
Yeah.
for that long intro about
No. Judd Nelson's transition from Brat Pack actor to serial killer is a big change in this movie. And I don't think he ever really comes back to that more clean cut Judd Nelson, as they make 3 Relentless films. The second and third go straight to video. How much does knowing Nelson primarily from films like The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire affect the way we perceive him as Buck Taylor?
That's a good question. How much
Do you think
did it
that
affect?
his previous work makes the character more disturbing?
I don't. I didn't grow up on, The Breakfast Club the way a lot of
Uh,
people that saw this movie did. I
mm,
mean, it's obviously, like I said, it's a transitional point for Lustig. It's also a transitional point, like you're pointing out, with Judd Nelson. This is like the reason I mentioned Lustig in relation to Nelson is Lustig was trying to be like a serious filmmaker. He doesn't want to just be caught up in, oh, he makes slasher movies. And I think that's similar with Judd Nelson. Like, he didn't want to be the Brat Pack kid anymore.
mhm. It is apparently this movie was originally called The Sunset Slayer.
You know who wrote
Uh,
it too, right?
don't tell me. It was one of the brothers, right?
No,
What's
it
his
was
name?
the guy who wrote the screenplay for Field of Dreams. I'm
Kevin,
not
what's his
kidding.
name? I almost said
Phil
Kevin.
Alden Robinson.
What's the actor from Field of Dreams that everyone knows his name?
Kevin
Can't think of it.
Costner?
Kevin Costner. I can't think of his
Yeah.
fucking name.
This movie had a pseudonym attached to it for the writer, though, because I don't know. I guess it wouldn't look good on the resume to,
I mean, The Sunset Slayer was a crazy title that I think would have fit with the straight to video horror. And we would have looked at this film less of a thriller and more of a
yeah, but
horror
we were
movie.
moving away from that, right? By then, I mean, we were moving towards. You had Michael Mann do Manhunter in '86. You had movies like Night Game. Like you have the slasher is growing up now, right?
But
And
Night
then
Game is not as slashery, in my opinion.
there's slasher elements to it.
Eh. They're not as bloody and violent as this
They
is,
don't
or
have to be.
Silence of the
They're
Lambs.
more adult.
Yeah,
This is trying to
they're
be.
thrillers, but
Yeah.
they're thrillers in the thriller sense. I look at them as more of aspiring Hitchcockian films than I look at a movie like this, which is just a horror movie. Like this and The First Power are the same film to me.
Okay.
In that, like, it's a horror movie. It's a police procedural horror movie that is just the new way. We changed the setting from the, like I said in the intro, from the summer camp or the babysitter. Like, to your point of saying it's grown up, yes, it's an adult venture now.
Well,
Because
I'm not
it's
saying
not
it's like the exact same thing as Michael Mann's Manhunter. This isn't trying to be art house or anything. It's a B plus movie, but I do think it's trying to do something a little different than Maniac Cop.
God, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no mythical elements to the person,
Right.
which I think really exemplifies what the 90s are going to be.
Well, and I think we were moving away from like the tropes, right? Like you can't just do a slasher movie with teenagers getting killed anymore. Now it's like, let's set this in like an all adult world, you know, in the city, urban area. It's some camp. It's not like Elm Street. You know what I mean? Like it definitely, it has, I think movies like this, and I would say this is true of erotic thrillers as well. A lot of them have certain DNA related to slashers. You watch Fatal Attraction. I mean, that tacked on last 15, 20 minutes, it's basically a slasher movie. Like Alex turns into a slasher villain. I just think it's interesting how this movie comes about after Maniac and Maniac Cop. I think it's like Lustig went from doing slasher movies to doing, you know, the grown up thriller that's still sort of at its heart a slasher, as I think alluding to.
Yeah, I think this movie is very slasher-esque because of the focus on the killer. Even though, how can I put it? Even though some of the slasher movies that we talk about, maybe even on this show, the guys aren't supernatural, but there's something comical about them and not real. From driller killers to, I guess I Know What You Did is the 90s. It's not a mythical killer in The Prowler. It's a person. I can't remember who exactly it is in The Prowler. But there's no costume that this guy is going to wear. There's no gimmick, right? He doesn't have knives for fingers or a machete. He's going to kill you literally with things in your own home.
Well, I was going to say that's another interesting aspect of this film, because if you watch this back to back with Maniac, this is Maniac, but you feel like you don't have to take a shower afterwards. That's what this movie is.
It's Maniac in LA, not New York. That's why.
Well, it's Maniac for like a more mainstream audience. This is this movie did very well in theaters.
For LA, not New York.
Yeah. This movie did very well in theaters too, and then it did even more well on VHS. I mean, that's why there were all these sequels. It did very well. I think it hit a nerve at the time. And like I said,
the cast
is great, and I think Lustig is a great director. I think it's fascinating how you have this guy who is basically a high school and film school dropout who just learned on the go. I mean, he learned from, you know, being on the mean streets of New York with like mob connections, making adult films, and then transitioning into like feature films. And finally, this was his sort of break. This movie got bought up by Warner International, so this was a big deal when it came out on some level. I mean, it's a really solid little thriller. I wouldn't say it's the best of the era, but it's just this really solid film. And like you said, the cast is great too. Especially, I know we've talked a lot about Judd Nelson, but I actually love that this movie gives a sort of lead turn for Leo Rossi, who we had seen previously in Maniac Cop 2.
The Accused.
The Accused, yeah. And well, he's also one of my favorite characters in the Halloween franchise. You remember Halloween 2? He's the guy that says that great line of poetry in Halloween 2. And I will repeat the poetry here. Mm-hmm. Amazing grace, come sit on my face. Don't make me cry. I need your pie. That's his character in Halloween, and
That's his character in like everything he plays in until he
well, that's
becomes an
true.
adult man. And he's the guy in The Accused that's yelling out, "Whip that pussy!" Like
That's true.
he kind of plays this despicable East Coast guy, which makes
Yes.
him more fun in this movie because his whole character is he's a New York transplant in Los Angeles with his Los Angeles family doing these wacky Los Angeles things like eating healthy.
Yeah.
He does that well in this movie.
It's weird too because it's I mean, The Accused, he's kind of an yeah. And I mean, Maniac Cop 2, he's the secondary villain, right? He's the one working with Cordell. He's like a criminal, like a serial killer working with Cordell. But in this, he's the hero,
which is a great turn for him. He actually played
Yeah.
Robert Loggia's in this movie, who's
right.
just anytime you want to see a tired cop or a tired villain, Robert Loggia's been doing that since he started acting.
Right.
He's been playing that role.
There's also some weird bit roles in this one. Angel Tompkins, who is like a fixture of 70s drive-in cinema, plays the one reporter that helps them out. I don't want to spoil it. She only has I think 30 seconds of screen time. It's really odd. George Buck Flower, who was the greatest actor to play bums in John Carpenter movies and everything else. He's also in this. For once, he's not playing a bum. He's just playing a weird old dude.
Weird old dude. Mildly racist.
Weird old, right?
Yeah.
And Meg Foster with her piercing blue eyes that threaten to devour the screen.
I was literally going to mention her, and you beat me to it. Was she in Stepfather 2?
Yes, she was. Yeah.
Meg Foster was like...
She's in They Live.
Kirstie Alley, but probably nicer.
Those eyes always get me.
Yeah, that was a similarity between those two to me. The eyes. And I can't tell white people apart. There's the racism. In the movie, how much responsibility does the film place on Buck's upbringing, which is Judd Nelson's characters, on his dad?
I don't know all of it. That's another, the guy who plays his dad in the flashbacks, Bo Starr, that's Officer or Sheriff Meeker from Halloween 4 and 5.
I've never seen that man play someone that isn't an asshole.
He plays a lot of cops, so I see your point.
But an asshole cop.
Right.
I've never seen that man not play an asshole. It makes me think that he probably sucks in real life. I could be wrong. He could be the nicest guy ever, gives out the best Halloween candy. But Jesus Christ, man, he has never played a decent human on film. This movie takes place in late 80s Los Angeles. This is before the riots, like right before the riots. And this is during the time where the LAPD is really beating shit out of everybody. This movie is released during an era of aggressive policing, the expansion of the war on drugs. How does the film's portrayal of the police interact with the real world of LAPD during this period?
I think it says cops are idiots. I mean that is sort of the takeaway I get from the movie. Cops are idiots, and hard ass cops will turn their kids into serial killers. I mean, you mentioned that line where Robert Loggia says, the damn liberals. But the damn liberals were right. Like, the dad was a psycho. And look what he did to his kid. So, I mean, the cops do get one-upped a lot in this movie. So, I think that's very interesting. Although I guess you could say Leo Rossi plays the I'm not going to play by the books.
Yeah.
So there's that
this kind of stuff for me, because first of all, the movie starts off, this is what I always see.
Yeah.
The cops are understaffed. So the movie starts off, the character, and this is what makes this, you kind of have to go back in the Wayback Machine when watching this, I feel like, because times have changed so much. You can still find people in creepy ways. That it was a Netflix show, You kind of showed how you can find someone and stalk them through social media quite easily. But before that, there was this crazy thing called the phone book that most people were listed in. And Judd Nelson's character just goes to the phone book and he's kind of randomly finding. He's looking for specific names, but not specific people. And he calls his first victim, and the person doesn't answer their phone. And he leaves a message on the person's answering machine. Good times. And says, I was hoping you'd be home because I want to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And the dude has no idea who this person is calling him. He goes to the police station, and the police station is always busy, right? Like every movie from RoboCop is like that. Like every movie when there's a police station, there's just busy, and there's just bad guys coming in always. And there's always a pimp and a hooker. I don't care what movie you're watching in the 80s or early 90s. Anytime they walk into a police station, there's going to be a pimp and a hooker. Anyway, the
Where
guy
was the
walks
pimp
in.
and the hooker in this one?
Look in the background.
Okay,
There's
maybe I missed it.
always pimps and hookers. So the guy comes in and he tells the cop, "Hey, this dude threatened to kill me." And the guy's like, no big deal.
It's probably just some wacko. And
Yeah.
the guy says, "That's what I'm worried about."
That was the best part. That's probably just some crazy guy.
I mean, listen, I think Lustig inserted stuff like this on purpose. I do think there is a bit of making fun of the cops in here, even though it's trying to appeal ultimately to. I mean, you're right. It is trying to appeal to like middle-aged dudes who are like, I just want to watch some man from Brooklyn kick ass and take names. It's like They Live, though, right? Like They Live has all this subversive commentary, but you still watch it like if you're some middle-aged dude that's maybe kind of reactionary, kind of likes Reagan, but you know, you're the kind of guy that just wants to see Roddy Piper say, I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass and I'm all out of bubble, you know, Duke Nukem style. But there's still that subversive element. I do think that is in this. I mean,
I think you have to really peer through if you want to see that, because I think
you have to watch it intently rather than drinking beer and being on your cell phone.
I mean, that's how you should watch every movie, first and foremost.
That's true.
I'm not a big fan of second screen viewing, but you know, I was just watching it. I didn't finish it, but I always find those scenes really interesting. You know, the movie Colors does something similarly, where when you see the police against the gangs, it's always undermanned. And like one of the stories that we were getting, if you remember the news back there, was like, they have these bullets. These gangsters have these magic bullets that can pierce a cop's Kevlar. They're called hollow points. And if they hit you with them, your chest will explode on contact. And there was all this fear that the gangs were outnumbering and outgunning law enforcement. And you find out, you know, if you were bothering to read the news, you know, law enforcement was having like military grade weapons and literally destroying people's houses with tanks. But that's never what we saw in the movies. Cops still have, you know, these 6-shooters and what did the cops say to the kid? We just don't have enough people. In a couple of days, maybe somebody will get to you, which just isn't how these things ever functioned. But there's a storyline that has to move along. If cops are functioning the way they're supposed to be, it doesn't work, right? So you kind of have to have this story of the regular cops aren't doing their job, so we need detectives because they're above the police and they're smarter and they have magical detective skills. And another theme that I find really funny is as the new detective, what's his name again? Rossi?
Yeah, Leo Rossi. Yeah.
Leo Rossi. He's trying to find out, like he's going through the house, he's looking at clues, he's putting things together to literally explain how the murder happened, and the cops are laughing at him like, we don't care how the murder happened. Like, why don't you? That's like really important.
Well, that's you know what I was thinking the whole time watching this, because like I keep going back to the director Bill Lustig, but he's like the most New York guy imaginable.
Yes.
So and like I'm thinking to myself, this whole movie is just him crapping on LA.
Yes.
Like, and Leo's character is a stand-in for him.
Yeah. I married this LA broad. She's giving me avocado omelets. Which I've never heard of an avocado omelet. That's his breakfast and some sort of vitamin pack that he put in his coffee that didn't seem very smart. Um, which is really funny because I think that's everyone's impression of Los Angeles, that it's just filled with like health nuts and hippies and these people that sun their buttholes and, you know, disconnected from the realities of the streets. It's like, that's an interesting, that's New York socialites as well, but I guess they don't count. Sorry, I do have my East Coast bias hat on because I am from the West Coast. I liked Maniac Cop 1, and Maniac Cop 2 has the best rap song in the history of cinema. Do you agree?
Yeah. I was gonna disagree and say, what about the Fat Boys from Nightmare on Elm Street 4?
Oh, I was going to say from their movie Disorderlies. No, I go with the Maniac Cop rap
I
song.
think that's fair, yeah.
Because when you hear it, you're like, what?
That's another thing that I think works about this movie is the score by Jay Chataway. Or Jay
It's
Chathaway. Yeah, well, he does the music for the Maniac Cop movies. So he was part of Lustig's little troupe. So
the amount of guitar I appreciate. And I just watched last night. What's it called? It's called Boys Don't Cry with Charlie Sheen and dude from, I think he's from Grease too. I can't think of his name. You know what I'm talking about? I think it's one of Charlie Sheen's first movies.
I'm blanking.
Penelope Spears did it after Suburbia.
Okay. Oh, are you talking about that movie? Yeah. You're talking about the one with Maximilian Schell, right?
No.
The Boys Next Door.
Boys Next Door. Sorry, Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
Thanks. Wrong Boys movie.
Yeah, or Maximilian Caulfield. I don't know why I said Schell.
Caulfield, yes, that's his name. Is he dead?
I don't know, actually.
Wasn't he in Grease too?
I don't know.
Damn it. Am I the only person that watched Grease 2 before Grease 1?
That is a good movie that we'll have to do sometime, by the way.
Grease 2?
No, The Boys Next Door.
Dude, I was ready to tell
Grease
you.
2. We can do Grease 2 at some point.
I was ready to tell you after I watched it. I was like, I think we should do this movie. I think we should try to get Penelope on the show to talk about it.
She probably would. She did Decline of Western Civilization as well, if you remember that movie.
Yes, we watched the first 2 Decline movies on this channel.
Nice.
The evolution of the Relentless sits between the older slasher tradition and the wave of psychological serial killer films that would explode in the 90s. What distinguishes for you, Buck Taylor, from the masked or supernatural killers of earlier horror films?
Like I said, I think he's Joe Spinell, all grown up. You know, I mean, whereas Spinell is like sweating and kind of like acting like creepy in a different way. Yeah. Like, I love Maniac, but it is sort of like, I guess you could say it's somewhat over the top. Whereas Judd Nelson is sort of just, I don't know how you would describe his sort of mannerisms as the killer. He's sort of catatonic.
I feel like his character has also been taught to obey the rules, right? Like
well, no, you see it at the beginning where he won't cross the street.
He won't cross the street on red. Yeah, even though it's safe for him to cross because...
Well, he won't even kill the people, right? He's like, I have to help you kill yourself, so I can't... Like, there's this weird psychological thing with it. Yeah.
So he's... And it's also interesting when we think about, the people that become law enforcement. And there's a reason why I wanted to put in the shooter that recently happened in Idaho. One day there'll be a movie about that whole day, which I find it's just the most American shit ever. I guess that's the only thing I could say to put words around it. You have a young man. He was only 24. Kind of like this person in this movie almost feels autobiographical. Came up apparently pretty conservative, big fan of the rule of law, wants to join ICE but can't, loses his shit, and just starts shooting at a strip mall at a In-N-Out. While he's randomly shooting people, a good guy with a gun, a doomer, you might say, who admittedly said, I've been preparing for this moment for the last 5 years. And you're like, you were preparing for a random dude to walk into an In-N-Out with an assault rifle? Or were you preparing for a race riot? Like, let me know what you were preparing for, because whatever you're saying sounds uncomfortable to me. And this man starts shooting towards the shooter. He's called a hero, but keep in mind, JG, by the grace of someone's God, he hit no one. He opened fire and luckily hit no one. I don't know how good that guy is with a gun. I think it's just dumb luck that he just didn't hit anybody. And people say, oh, he saved the day. It's like, I don't know. Did he? I would have been terrified if there were bullets coming from every fucking angle from people that can't shoot. So in that regard, this movie to me kind of tells the story of today, a person that's quite disconnected from society. Like, he has no friends. I thought that was interesting that no one knew him. They knew his dad, but they didn't know him. And, he can move and no one's really looking for him because
he's invisible. Yeah.
He's invisible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone said in the comments, like Taxi Driver, almost a little Taxi Driver-esque. Do you think the Invisible Man in today's movies is going to play a different role, or is this a theme that today is going to try? Because this doesn't feel. We talk about the past. We always talk about third spaces and all these things we miss. Mm-hmm. But we forget that people were also, a lot like Buck Taylor in 1989 as well.
I think there's probably a lot of Buck Taylors around today.
Do you think there's more Buck Taylors today?
I don't know if I'd say that, but in terms of movies, I could see this type of character becoming more prevalent again. Especially in this age of like people being, terrified of incels and whatnot.
So is Buck Taylor a proto incel?
I think you could possibly make that argument. Or just he's like he's a proto. I think there's a lot of fear today over men losing their grip, right? I mean, on their sanity or their temper, mm-hmm. right? And I think that's what Buck is, someone who has snapped. And like you said, we've had it before with taxi drivers. So maybe this alienation isn't as new as we make it out to be. We talk about it like there's a new coat of paint every 10 years. I don't know.
Well, what were we doing wrong in 89?
Voting for Reagan?
Damn. Well, we wouldn't have. We would have voted for Bush, right?
Yeah, and yeah. But I mean, you're basically voting for Reagan too when you're
voting for his vice president. Yeah. Right. But I mean, would you agree though that there's a feeling that the only way that we can stop crime is with stricter penalties?
Are you saying that in terms of this movie?
In general. I mean, that's the feeling of the nation.
Sure, I think there's a lot of that going around in the air, yeah.
again, especially in Los Angeles, like
Yeah.
the police suck in LA. Like we can't deny that, but it's also
Right.
quite violent. And this is ramping up to the era where, murders are peaking.
Yeah.
And what are we, 5 years before the crime bill, which I had to do some footnotes on something that I had wrote a few years ago where I referenced the crime bill. And rates, as the bill was coming out in 94, actually murder rates were dropping. But they were still quite high compared to where they are now. But we didn't use terms like mass incarceration in the 80s because we just didn't know what it looked like. We didn't even talk about the 99-to-1 powder to crack cocaine ratio because people, the Congressional Black Caucus signed on to these reforms saying that this is what we need. We need better policing. I mean, one of the big things that's part of the 94 crime bill is that Black neighborhoods have to be protected and policed. So this idea of crazy people running amok, if you watch a movie from before this year, a lot of times killers, before they get killed by the vengeful cop, they say something along the lines of, I'm going to plead insanity and get off.
Right. That's 10 to Midnight.
10 to Midnight. That is literally a line
Yeah.
in 10 to Midnight. But there's
Right.
other movies where the killer, claims that he's going to get off easy or he's only going to serve a few years. Like that's they literally laugh as they get taken away in cuffs and like, I'll be out of here in no time. That's
The
part of the
spoiler
story.
alert, that's very different in this movie.
Because again, we've got some new sentences coming down, some changes from like 86 on. You're starting to see more and more changes where district attorneys are having a lot more power and the power is getting taken away from judges and put into the hands of prosecutors. That's probably more than the directors and writers are thinking about when they're doing these movies, but they do have consultants within the police department when they do these things. So I'm sure they're somewhat aware of how these things work.
Yeah, I would agree.
Kushlik says he's going to plead insanity for posting.
I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie, but I think the third act of this movie will be interesting watching.
Spoil it all, man. Fuck these people. Fuck them. If you haven't seen a 40-year-old movie, I'm going to tell you the end. I'm going to tell you everything about it.
I mean, you have to understand Judd Nelson's motivation is very different than, say, the killer in 10 to Midnight, right?
Yes.
I mean, ultimately what you realize by the end of this movie is all he is trying to do is it's a really elaborate way to do a death by cop. Like he idolizes the cops so much. Like you even see it. There's this great scene with Judd Nelson where he's talking to Robert Loger and Leah Rossi. And he his eyes light up when they're talking to him because he's like, ooh, cops.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really likes cops. He wishes he could be a cop. So everything he is doing is it's a really elaborate way to commit suicide by cop. Like he wants the cops to catch him and kill him. I mean, that's what it's an interesting character in that sense. His thinking is, if I can't be a cop, then I want to be killed by one.
I mean, it's insane.
Yes, it is.
I mean, he's supposed to be a crazy person.
Yeah, there's a method to the madness. Even
I vaguely remember watching the second one, thinking, "Holy shit, they made a second one," and I don't remember anything from the second one. Rewatching this one, I didn't remember anything. Only thing I remember, JG, which was so weird. I just remember being a little kid in my room, getting excited to watch. I literally remember. I think it was Cinemax. They used to do this. And if you remember this, I'd be very shocked because I don't think you do. But they had a thing on the screen and it would show you the movies that were coming up in 3-hour blocks.
Yeah.
And usually they blocked them off by 2 hours not 3-hour blocks, but 3 movies in a block. So it would be like 8 o'clock is, I don't know, big blockbuster film. So 8 o'clock is The Last Starfighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 And even if the Last Starfighter is an hour and a half, you're going to get a half hour of previews. At 10 is going to be maybe something a little darker because it's after hours and it's definitely later back east. So at 10 o'clock, it's going to be Relentless. And at midnight, Thriller with Tits. Just like they might as well just called it Thriller with Tits. And I was going to stay awake for that block of time and watch those movies. And that's pretty much how my weekends were spent as a young person. And I literally remember watching this. I remember seeing it on the screen and going, oh shit, I want to see this, because it said like starring Judd Nelson.
It's like, we got some boobies in this one too.
There's a set of tits.
Yes.
There's a set of tits. It's not as good as Crime Thriller with Titties. Because those movies tend to star Shannon Tweed. And the titties are the main part of the movie. And you forget what the mystery was about. But you do watch to the end to see if they catch whoever there is they're looking for. But you're like, where are you looking for that guy again? She's fucked like 8 people in this movie.
I you know what? Don't go after my Shannon Tweed. I love my Shannon Tweed.
I'm not dissing her. I'm just saying that those movies had a very interesting formula. That's
true. Her and Tanya Roberts, man.
Tanya Roberts was in the Sybil Danning. We watched
L.A. Bounty.
L.A. Bounty.
With the great Wings Hauser shooting coffins full of people and stuff.
You did not show up for that, and I was very hurt.
I was dealing with some things with family.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I was hurt. Someone says boobs in the cheap seats. You might as well call this show that. I think we're pretty good at finding movies that have that. Well, no, Hello Mary Lou didn't have it.
I mean, what's weird, I mean, I think I took a different tact with this movie in some ways. What is most interesting to me about this movie is who made it, because it's a very mature film within Lustig's filmography. And I actually think it's like an inspirational film in a weird way. If you think about, I mean, it's almost like, you know, Robert Rodriguez does El Mariachi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's like a $7,000 movie, right? And then, you know, it gets huge. It gets, I think Columbia bought it. He makes Desperado, Antonio Banderas, and Salma Hayek. Lustig is a similar success story if you're an independent filmmaker. This, like I said, this is a dude who dropped out of high school, barely got into NYU, said, I don't need to go to NYU either, drops out of that, makes these like low budget adult films. And eventually by 89, he's making Relentless. And it's a big success. It made a lot of money, especially on the video market. So if you love movies, like this is kind of like a success story, you know, just for the director. And I think it's also a very well shot film. I think there's a lot of shot composition in this movie that really works well. And there's some great set pieces.
There's some good shots. Though there was some good shot composition in this movie.
Well, especially I love the set piece with the falling through the glass on the roof. It comes out of nowhere.
Oh, don't ruin it. Just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding. There's no final girl in this movie. And
no, well past that now.
For the most part, we're kind of past the final girl.
We do have Meg Foster, but
she's not really the final girl, right? Because
she plays a huge role in the third act, though.
She plays a what?
She plays a huge role in the third act.
Yeah, because she's the cop's wife. I would say she's more of bait, if you will. I mean, the final girl that we know from
she's not used as bait in this film. That's But
the final girl we know in the horror movie world is the movie ends with them. They kill the monster. Right. Sigourney Weaver is going to kill the alien. Nancy's going to send Freddy back to his temporary nap home until he comes back for the next movie. Some psychic in the Jason movies is going to, you know, put him in water.
She plays a different function. Yeah.
To the point where it's so tropey post the book that I feel like there's been a return to that. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, a little bit. Can you explain what you mean more?
It was kind of over in the 90s with police procedurals.
Right.
It's the final weathered cop.
Right.
You could probably say you're the final Morgan Freeman.
Right. Right.
Right? You're the final black guy. I feel like there's more fun. Denzel was the final black guy. When teen slashers at the end of the 90s make a reappearance, a la Scream, and then all of the Scream knockoffs, it feels like there was a return to those tropes because that was the joke. Those movies were all these meta jokes. Then Asian horror starts to dominate in the 2000s and Asian horror derivatives. And it's just kind of different and eerie and
More so the horrible, evil, disgusting piece of crap derivatives like Gore Verbinski's the Ring, more so than the Asian actual good movies.
you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I had to get my dig in there about how much I hate those American remakes.
And there was a ton of them.
Oh yeah, The Grudge.
One
Yeah.
Missed Call is a remake. The Eye is a remake. We can go on and on.
I would like to find the American producers that made the Ring remake and punch them in the face.
Didn't they make 2 Ring movies?
Yes, they made there was Rings after. I hate that. We can get into it another. I hate the American. No, it's just no that actually I would do a political show on because it's like the most like woman hating piece of crap. Fucking sorry. That original Ringu is such a wonderful, airy movie that doesn't turn its tragic character into just a simple monster. But Americans can't do that type of thing. They can't do anything that's like nuanced. You know.
No.
This movie though, it's very tropey. You know.
And then you get ridiculous. I think you get ridiculous things with US films like
Yeah.
the prequel thing in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's the requel thing.
I'm sorry, what did you call me?
I said it's the requel thing now.
I don't even what is a requel?
It's a reboot sequel. Like Halloween 2018, it's a reboot.
Oh, the requel. That's what they call it?
Yes, people call it that.
I lived for so many years and didn't have to hear that word, and here you come.
Yeah.
Putting that evil on my doorstep. The 2000s to me is kind of a dark time. Because if you're not watching the original like Asian horror stuff and you're watching the US remakes, to your point, they're not that good. We're also dealing with CGI.
They're extremely, some of them are extremely reactionary to a degree that actually like pisses me off.
And then it just feels like it's remake heaven. Like hey, all these William Castle movies, let's just remake some of those.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna get remade. You get a remake and you get a remake.
Right.
What do you mean?
On Texas Chainsaw.
Carrie again. We can do Carrie again.
Well, we're getting Carrie again now. This time from Mike Flanagan. So as a TV series, well, I'm fine. Flanagan actually can make a good movie and TV series. So
it's just so much like remake.
The 2000s was like a dark age, though.
It was a dark. I mean,
people say the 90s were so bad for horror. I disagree with that. It's just that horror movies became stuff like this. Like Relentless. I think I don't know. Yeah, you look at a movie like Unlawful Entry with Kurt Russell and Ray Liotta.
Ooh,
I mean, that's just it's the horror movie. It's the slasher movie grown up. It's horror adjacent. It's a thriller movie with some horror fingerprints. I don't know what to tell people. The 90s wasn't that bad for horror.
I know the 90s wasn't bad at all. I think some directors actually really put out some of their better work.
I mean, it's interesting too because it's a lot of directors, not just Lustig, but a lot of directors were moving in this direction of like, well, what's the next big thing? Fred Olen Ray in the 90s, he went from in the 80s doing stuff like Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers and Evil Tunes and all these like low budget horror movies that would fill the VHS shelves. You put Linnea Quigley or Brink Stevens on the cover, dudes are going to buy it, right? But in the 90s, he's like, I can make money doing these erotic thrillers. And that's exactly what he does. He gets Tanya Roberts in a few of them. He does one with Shannon Tweed. these independent directors understood where the audience was going, and they were moving towards this more like they're moving beyond the
You're
teens
not
in a
going to be.
cabin in the woods.
I was
You know,
talking about this with a
yeah,
professor who's writing a book on music.
hmm
You're not going to be 15 forever.
right,
And this idea that, oh, this new thing overtook this. Like, well, first of all, audiences grow up.
right,
And at a certain point, you're like, okay, I get it. Freddy's going to come back from the dead after you
hmm
killed him 16 times.
right,
I don't want to see this magical guy come back. And those monsters,
right,
Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface and
hmm
Michael Myers, more so Leatherface than Michael
right,
Myers. He had an absence for a while. They kind of become like universal monsters where they're
yes,
jokes.
yeah,
They're merchandised to death. They're pop icons in a way that like Darth Vader, like it takes the sting out. Like
right,
so many people love to shit on the prequels and a lot of the animated stuff with Star Wars. But if you're really a Star Wars fan,
right,
then when you watch even like the newer Maul series, you really appreciate Darth Vader and how scary he was when you were
yeah,
a little person watching the first couple Star Wars movies. Like this guy is just evil personified. The prequels give you the backstory of how you become evil personified. And maybe you don't care to see an evil kid whine, but I mean, how do you think you become the most evil guy in the galaxy? And number two, I felt like the animated series did such a good job of just showing, kind of how he got his reputation, right?
right,
And it took years to get Vader from being the thing you wore on your underoos to giving you chills again when he shows up on screen and you
hmm
hear his theme. And for me, that's what this era did because there wasn't a lot of franchise movies outside of Scream, but most of these were like one-offs
right.
because you're dealing with real people that are probably going to die in the end as far as the killers. So you're
Yeah,
not going to have
no, it's a really interesting period, and it shows you how resourceful a lot of independent producers were because
Mhm.
it's hard to make a living in that independent world. Like it, I mean, people make their jokes about Roger Corman, but when Roger Corman saw one well dry, he would say, "We got to move on to whatever the next thing is." And he does the same thing. You watch a movie like Final Judgment or Stripped Kill. He says, "Okay, we did the slasher thing with the Slumber Party Massacre movie. We got to move on. Is that there's a new audience that we have to get, and maybe that audience grew up. But I mean,
Yes.
as someone who went to film school, this is all very interesting to me because of the business aspect of it. And I think a movie like Relentless is a big part of that. Well, they wouldn't call it a horror movie. Even when this movie came out, Lustig is like trying to downplay
Mhm.
that he was a horror director.
Mhm.
Vincent Canby mentioned this in his review, I think, for the Los Angeles Times of the movie. He's like, "Oh, I don't want to make a gruesome movie. I'm just trying to make a psychological thriller." A lot of directors that were independent were trying to downplay if they had done horror movies. And it's like, oh, no, I'm doing a classy thriller now. But I mean, with Relentless, I think you can still see the elements of sleaziness at times. It's a
Well,
it's a fun movie.
Well, let's watch the movie.
Yeah.
I paid a whopping $3.99 to rent it here in Mexico. Damn you, licensing. If you want to watch it with JG and I, um, you can become a patron or a paid YouTube subscriber. Apparently, I think I effed up and I didn't. I put it up for everybody. So if you go to the This Is Revolution YouTube page, there's a link to watch the film. So you can join us in the fun.
And maybe next time we'll have to do the sequels.
I don't remember the sequels. I definitely never watched the third. So that would
The
be
third one has William Forsythe in it. And you know what? The fourth one is
excellent.
worth watching because you get Famke Jensen
I
at the height of her
believe that
powers.
you are kin to William Forsythe.
What?
Gotta
Oh,
be.
the hair? The hair?
Gotta be. he's also the funniest person in that Deuce Bigelow movie.
That's true.
I got a thin dick. Love William Forsythe. Can you get him on the show?
I've talked to him before, but I've never. I wouldn't know his like publicist or anything. So
damn it. Try, JG. Use your powers of just tell William Forsythe that you're his long lost son. He'll believe you. The 80s were
he's a one of a kind character. I'll say that.
Oh, he was wild in real life.
He's like an old school throwback actor. We were talking. I asked him about playing John Wayne Gacy in the movie Dear Mr. Gacy, and he talked about like, well, I actually went down to where was it that those murders happened? Chicago. Mm-hmm. He's like, I did intensive research, and I was like trying to get in Gacy's head. And he's like, I started investigating the murders, and I went to the actual places the murders happened. I went to where the Gacy house was, and I'm like, there are not as many actors like you today.
Is Dear Mr. Gacy the one about the kid that wrote him the letters?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
that's one of Forsythe's best later roles. Yeah.
And that's a very sad story because as a man, he ended up killing himself. The real person who that movie's based on.
You know, the last thing I was going to say about Relentless real quick too, people really need to watch the ending of this with us because Meg Foster gets a moment to like try to calm down the killer. And again, I do think there's a lot in this movie that is kind of saying like, wow, cops are really stupid. I mean, that Judd Nelson says it at one point. He says it to his dead dad. He says, it's not my fault the cops are stupid. So I think there's a lot going on in this movie, but it's not exactly a cab, I will admit, but there is a little bit of poking and prodding and making fun.
I still think it's pro cop.
Okay. Well, we end up on different sides of the track again.
Cop wins in the end, and the cops are understaffed. And it takes an intelligent cop that finds the killer.
That's true. I can't deny that part.
That's from New York.
It has to appeal to that audience in the 1980s, though. You're right. Like, it does have to appeal to those Reagan voters.
So let's watch Relentless. Join us. Either become a patron or subscribe to This Is Revolution. You'll see it's one of the community posts to watch the movie. You can see the link in there to join us, and let's rock out to this amazing non-Quinn intro outro. See you soon.